You know, the Mahabharata is just packed with incredible heroes and, let's be honest, some really heartbreaking tragedies. But there's one death that always seems to hit the hardest, the death of the young warrior Abhimanyu. So why? Why was he left to die?
This is the question, right? The one that probably bothers you too if you know the story. Why didn't Krishna, the literal divine protector, the ultimate strategist, do something to save his own nephew? I mean, on the surface, it just looks unbelievably cruel. But the real answer, well, it's way more complex, and it was pretty much written in the stars long before that battle ever began.
So, to get to the bottom of this, we can't just look at the chaos of the Kurukshetra battlefield. Nope. The real clues are hidden in events that happened way, way before the Great War was even a thought.
See, Abhimanyu's fate wasn't just sealed on that one terrible day. It was locked in by two very specific, very powerful conditions. One was a pact made up in the heavens between gods, and the other was a boon, a special power granted right here on Earth to a really bitter enemy.
All right, so let's dive in and really unpack these two conditions that sealed this young hero's fate long before he ever even picked up a weapon.
First up, we've got this celestial pact, basically a promise made between gods that had huge consequences. And then we'll look at the earthly boon, a powerful gift that was born from a deep, burning desire for revenge. You'll see how these two threads kind of weave together to create the tragic story of Abhimanyu.
Okay, so to really get this, you have to know who Abhimanyu really was. He wasn't just Arjuna's son. His true celestial identity was Varchas, and he was the son of Chandra, the moon god. So when the gods decided they needed him on Earth for this epic war, his father was, well, let's just say he was not happy about it.
You can just imagine. Chandra was absolutely heartbroken at the idea of being separated from his son. He actually told the other gods, "My son Varchas is as precious as my own life." He only agreed to let Varchas go to Earth under one very strict, non-negotiable condition.
And that was the deal. Varchas gets to be born on Earth as Abhimanyu, but the clock was ticking. He only had 16 years before he had to return to his father. So, in a way, Abhimanyu was born with an expiration date.
Now, let's get to the second piece of this whole puzzle, the earthly boon. This part of the story starts with an enemy warrior named Saindava. He had been completely and utterly humiliated by the Pandavas in an earlier conflict, and it lit this fire in him, a serious need for revenge. So fueled by this need for revenge, Saindava performed some incredibly intense meditation and penance, and eventually he earned a powerful boon from Lord Shiva himself. And what was the boon? He was granted the power to single-handedly defeat and hold back all four of the Pandava brothers, everyone except for Arjuna. But here's the kicker, the really crucial catch. This amazing power would only work for one single day.
Okay, let's fast forward to the 13th day of the Kurukshetra War, because this is where you'll see how this all comes together. This is the exact moment where that 16-year celestial clock and that one-day earthly boon crash into each other with, well, with devastating results.
Okay, but before we go any further, we gotta clear up a really common myth. A lot of movies and shows will tell you that Abhimanyu learned how to break the Padma Vyuham, this super complex, deadly battle formation, while he was still in his mother's womb. But if you go back to the source text, the Vyasa Mahabharata, it's pretty clear. He was taught how to get in directly by his father Arjuna.
And this is the truly heartbreaking part. When he was asked to be the one to break the formation, Abhimanyu himself confirmed what he knew. He said, "My father taught me how to enter, but he never instructed me on how to exit." He knew, right from the start, that this was very likely a one-way mission.
So picture this. On that exact day, Arjuna gets intentionally lured to the other side of the battlefield. It was a setup, and with him gone, and with Saindava using his one-day boon to block the other Pandavas from following, the entire weight of the world fell onto the shoulders of a 16-year-old Abhimanyu. He was the only one who could get inside.
So once he's inside, what's waiting for him? 14. That's right. 14 of the enemy's absolute best warriors. All at once. All of them against him, and him alone.
And what he did in there? Wow, it was absolutely legendary. He single-handedly defeated the great Karna. Not once, but twice. He knocked Dusahanchan unconscious. He made the leader of the Kauravas, Duryodhana himself, turn and run away in fear.
and he killed Duryodhana's own son, Lakshman Kumara. This wasn't some kid fighting, this was a force of nature unleashed.
But you know, even a hero like that, a true force of nature, can be brought down by treachery. The Kaurava commanders, seeing that they just could not beat this young lion in a fair fight, came up with a plan that would stain their honor forever.
It was Drona, their great teacher, who saw the absolute destruction Abhimanyu was causing, and gave this just chilling piece of advice. He told them, "Look, as long as that boy has a weapon in his hand, he is unbeatable. To take him down, you're going to have to break the sacred rules of war and destroy his defenses, together and unfairly."
And that's exactly what they did. It was a systematic, cowardly attack. First, 6 of them surrounded him all at once. Then, Karna, sneaking up from behind, broke his shield. Drona shattered his sword. Even then, he didn't give up. He grabbed a chariot wheel and kept fighting. But finally, exhausted, surrounded, and completely unarmed, he was struck down by the son of Dusasan.
I mean, this was so unbelievably unjust that a voice from the heavens itself, an Asrayar Vani, boomed across the battlefield for all to hear, declaring, "Drona, Karna, and the remaining 4 have killed Abhimanyu unjustly." Even the universe itself condemned what they did.
So, this brings us back to our big question. Why didn't Krishna step in? The simple, painful answer is, he couldn't. Abhimanyu's death was the perfect storm. It was the absolute fulfillment of that celestial pact that said he only had 16 years. It was the direct result of Saindava's one-day boon that trapped him in there alone. And ultimately, as horrible and as unjust as it was the heroic end his divine destiny required, a brutal but necessary sacrifice for the greater good.
And that really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? The version of the story that so many of us know from pop culture is often really different from what's in the original text. So it kind of makes you wonder, if a story as important as this one can be changed so much, what other truths are we all just accepting without ever thinking to question where they came from?